We don't do things exactly how we don't state things exactly how they were. So I'd like to start with Mr. Soman. Go ahead.
Oh, hi. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, first of all, and to those who have played a mother role, whether you're a man or a woman. We've all been there before, so I've done it many times. So when fathers come around, they'll tell me Happy Mother's Day and Father's Day in one. I grew up with my mom. She was a single mom. She had me when she was 17. It wasn't easy growing up in Jamaica with a single mom. I also had my grandmother who played a mother figure to help raise me. Joan provided a lot for me. Even though I didn't ask for a lot, I got a lot. When British Knights was a thing kids were wearing, I had British Knights. I wasn't really into British Knights, but I got pairs of British Knights. I had LA gear, Nike. People thought I had it made, but I wasn't really a materialistic person, but I always had those stuff. I had Transformers, I had a bike, skateboard. But she worked a lot. She did a lot for us. She migrated here when I was a younger age, but this was fine. She wanted to make sure that she'd be able to provide for me. So like my Christmas, my birthdays, I had gifts, I had birthday parties, which a lot of kids in the neighborhood didn't have birthday parties. And she would come and visit, and we would go out on trips. We'd go to dinner, we'd go to the beach, and we'd go driving around, take me to school, pick me up, and stuff like that, as opposed to catching the bus, which is what majority of kids were doing. Then she eventually provided a way for me to get here and come here and stay with her, which was very good. Opened up a lot of opportunities for me. Because she was in the health field, she wanted me to get in healthcare. I wasn't really into healthcare. I wanted to be law enforcement.
Really?
I really did. Even to this day, I see cops, I'm like, I could have been a cop. I think that's probably what drove me to eventually join the military. So right out of college, actually when I was in college at age 17, I actually sort of conned her to sign me up into the military.
Yes,
so at 17, you have to get a parent's consent. You can't sign yourself up until you're 18. So I sort of conned her into signing me up, which did me pretty good. It made me become a more disciplined person. I learned a lot of stuff about the military, learned some trades. Like I was actually an engineer, so I did construction and demolition. So I worked with plastic explosives, mines, and stuff like that. Got into the construction, like how to build houses, do tiling, electrical work, stuff like that, which has helped me out a lot today, because even nowadays, people will come and ask me for tips and ideas on how to, fix something or work on something, or what do I think is this problem. After that, I came back home, and, I stayed with her, and I'm like, what do I want to do now? And she kept pushing me to, why don't you be a nurse? Why don't you be a nurse? I'm like, I don't know, you're a nurse. This person's a nurse. I'm like, I'm not feeling the nursing thing. So then I got a letter in the mail about becoming a respiratory therapist, and she sort of explained to me what it was. I'm like, okay, not a nurse, but it's something I could do. So I got into that, and I've loved it ever since. I mean, it's not quite like being a nurse, but I do share some of the responsibilities as a nurse. I do get sometimes blamed, like the nurses get blamed for stuff. I've been in the field for almost 20 years now, and right now I'm in a leadership position at work. So I do give out a lot of their orders and do a lot of delegation for my staff. And I do a lot of education too, but not only for my fellow therapists, but for doctors that are training and nurses that are training at my facility. So I want to thank her for that. She's done a lot for me. I've come along. I could have worst in the case scenario, I could end up 6 foot under, but thanks to her, I've not been there. Thank you, Mom.
Thank you.
We'll get back to the fact check. Let's move to Chris. Let's move to Chris. Your experience.
Well, first, I know it's Mother's Day, but since we do have a respiratory therapist, a person that's on the front line right now, I mean, thank you for putting yourself out there, because I know a lot of people in healthcare are getting sick for trying to keep us, so thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
And since we're going to do a fact check, I was a perfect child. I never got a child. So it was a cakewalk for her to raise me. Well, my story's a little different. So my mother, I always talked about her being my hero. She had me when she was 14. At Fort Lauderdale High School, she got pregnant, and they kicked her out of Fort Lauderdale High School, and she wound up going to a place called, back then was SAIS, and now it's Siegel High School.
Siegel for girls.
Siegel for girls.
Yes.
Wow.
And I love speaking at their graduations, and I'll give a whole talk about everything I'm doing, and then at the end I'll reveal that, hey, I was the first graduate of Siegel.
Yes.
So at being 14-year-olds and trying to raise a boy on her own, I mean, it was tough. And like you said, I got, I got all of my needs and most of my wants. I had the white British Nikes.
I had the black and green ones.
No,
My
I
high school
had the
color
white
black
and white.
and green. Yeah.
I had, but growing up, being raised by my mom solely really taught me a lot. It really taught me to be self-sufficient, and she was always giving for me. And I guess we'll get into embarrassing stories later. But the one thing I always remember, I was in high school, and I wanted to go to homecoming, and I needed, a good suit and whatever for homecoming, and I know we didn't have the money for it, and I remember putting on the suit and the shirt and the tie, and I bust open my mom's room to show her this nice suit, and she had on a nightgown with holes in it. She had spent her money to make me look good. And I know there's a lot of mothers out there with stories like that I'm walking around in a fresh new suit for homecoming, and she's struggling. But in that struggle, you get strength. So growing up, went off to college, went off to law school, came back, ran for office, and when I opened up my first campaign office, my mom was there, served in the House and in the Senate. But at every point, she's always been there and always been the person to tell me it's not how you started, but how you finish. And always have given me that drive that, you can do this, and I'm going to be there beside you. So Mother's Day is always real special to me in that not only the mother, she was mother, father, coach, biggest cheerleader there is. And so she really, really taught me a lot. It's funny that a woman taught me how to be a man.
And that's funny you say that, because that's going to be segue into my story. Because I went high school, I'm going to come to her. I just wanted, because that's where the fact checks go start. And then I'm going to come to you, because that's where the fact checks and the stories start. But funny enough, I started out leaving high school, and this thing called, in Jamaica we have a tiered system. So there's a university. It's like Broward College and then the FAU.
Right.
At the time, Broward College wasn't a university, was a just below. Just below. Community college. And so when I left high school, you were supposed to go to the University of the West Indies. But I didn't want to go to the University of the West Indies. I had a friend who, there's a place called Workers Bank in Jamaica, and he wanted to hook me up on a job. So back then, the idea of having a suit with a little plastic lapel with half a dozen pens were my ideal situation. So I didn't want to go to college, and I waited. I did all kinds of things, and time passed, no work, no hookup. And so with that said, Mom said, why don't you apply for, because university application is already done. She said, why don't you apply for Teachers College? And I'm like, okay, Mom. So every time we applied, I wait until I was done playing soccer in the evening and so forth. I'd come and check the mail, and I would rip up all these colleges. Money, if you're in Jamaica, anybody listening to me, it's Monique Teachers College, it's Churches, it's Michael, it's all these colleges that sent me interviews, and I ripped them up and went my separate way. One evening I came home, I'll never forget it, it was a Wednesday evening I came home, and there was a grip beside the refrigerator and a note, grip a suitcase for those who, buy the, just there, and then it was an invitation for interview from Bethlehem Teachers College. outside of Kingston. So now Kingston is like metropolitan area, and then Bethlehem is some bush place that you just. So it's not only just going to teachers' college, it's going to a teachers' college in the bushes. And their mom said to me, "Well, the interview is Friday. You either do the interview, or you take your suitcase and leave my house." Simple as that. Because my mom had graduated with a 9th grade education. That's when she left school. And she just believed education was the key. So I went, and apart from being just rude to the folks, talk about Kurt, I was Kurt at the 10th level, I just did whatever I said, responded anyway, did anything just for them to say no. Went back 2 weeks later, I came home and there's another letter and there was another suitcase by the door. And she says, the letter says, "Welcome to Bethlehem Teachers College." But it was the best 3 years of my life. I left there, went to the University of West Indies. I've taught all of my life. I actually taught close to your school. I was the director of operation for AMI Kids, or FOSI, down the bottom of the road from Seagull Kids for Girls. So it's a small world, but it's amazing how mothers, regardless of their circumstances, are able to send us in the correct direction. So now, Helen, back to you. Give me your side of Chris's story.
The first
Yes.
was total fantasy. He was the worst child in the world. He was the baddest kid in the world.
Oh Lord. I don't think they can hear you loud enough. Can you just repeat?
You can keep saying,
He was
keep talking
a-
low.
But I appreciate those days. And like you, similar to you, I attended Justice Smith University, and Chris went on with my sorority all these college visits, and he came back and said he was going to Howard, he was going to this school, that school, and I simply said, my money's going where I went. So you have a choice, any college you want to go to. But unless it's Justice Smith, my money's not going there.
So then, first fact check, that first school you went
So-
to was?
Justice.
Okay.
But he was different. When I said that he's a rough kid, not like these kids today. He was an old soul. You understand? He just got into things, but you know,
Into
it's
things
for
like
the
what?
rod.
Into things like what? Let's throw him under the bus just now.
With his cousins, and they burned up a house with a mattress in it. You know, just things. But he knew the rule was.
There was fireworks. Backfired. We were setting up fireworks, one of them backfired. We sent one kid to get the. Go ahead.
He was a tough kid, you know. He get into fights with kids that can beat him, but he would go back and fight them again.
Of course.
Like, he never.
You
Of
can't-
course, that's
Of course,
crazy.
you can't go like that.
Okay, so maybe you are normal. But so as a little kid, he was handful. As long as he was home before what, Chris?
Street lights came on.
Oh.
I was happy.
That's my mom. In fact, in my case, I attended a church, Jonestown Church of God, because we grew up in Jonestown, Jamaica, rough part of Jamaica. And it was school, home, and at an angle to the church. And at a certain time, if I didn't get home, she's walking down to the churchyard, and if I'm not in the church or if I'm on the fence, she's going to call me home. And that was the kind of a rule of law
Yeah.
back in the day.
Well, one Sunday I couldn't find Chris, and he said he was at church, but the church was closed in Broward County. Church was closed.
Where was COVID then? You know?
Joan, I saw a picture of a little man on the beach with you swimming. And then I saw, it's a shame we couldn't show those pictures. We start showing them, and then of course we had a song that we probably shouldn't have. And actually, one of the reasons why I had that song, I changed my mind, had that song, is because of a picture that Chris was in. But anyway, back to your beats thing. And then I saw another picture with him on a tricycle or a bicycle.
Tricycle.
So normally guys wait for their fathers to teach them how to ride a bike. So fact check, who taught
Orlando.
Mr. Soman? No, it's not Orlando. Mr. Soman, how to ride a bike?
Well, let's first of all, I don't call him Orlando, I call him Romeo.
Oh! Any reasons why?
Romy.
Well, the thing is, when he was born, the time was when we were watching Kung Fu. So first, I have an aunt who called him Kung Fu.
Yeah.
So because his dad is Indian, so he has his half there. So my aunt called him Kung Fu, but as time goes on, his middle name is Romeo, but we call him Romy because that is a common name in Jamaica. Most people in Jamaica has a nickname or a common name. So Orlando is just here. When we came to America, we kind of adopted, but when you hear we have this little mushy, lovey feeling talk, it's Romy. And then you know that is the sentimental, affectionate, nurturing, that's the name that we call him. So you're saying I was the one who taught Romy to learn to ride his bikes, his tricycle, his skates, his roller skates, all those things. I took him to ice skating. So all those are the things that I taught him to do. I know we did some little fishing in the ponds,
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So those are all the things that I taught him, and he is a very special kid. Some of the dirt.
I'm an only child. I'm the only special kid. I have to be the special one. I'm the only one.
He used to he was the man of the house, not just my house, but my mother's home, because he was the only male in the house. So he really was looked up to, and there was a lot of expectation from him. He's a disciplinarian. That's one of the things he is. One of the things I want to share, he had his own little account at the mom and pop store in the community. He could go there and he could order whatever
Money laundering or actually?
He has his own bills. His own little bill he would create. Whatever he wants, he gets. But you know what was all behind that? His mom was in the United States, so they know his pocket money was sure.
Oh, good credit. And a high credit score.
Yeah, let me just recognize some folks who are watching us from far and near. I know, for example, Mackillop, Daffodil, if that's the pronunciation, please pardon me, some of the names is not quite clear to me. Is
Daffodil.
Daffodil, right.
Yeah.
From Mackillop, is that it?
Yep, from London.
From London is watching.
Greetings from across the pond.
Greetings from across the ponds. Greetings to you.
Yeah.
Happy Mother's Day. We have Loretta Patrick. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, especially mothers who are also fathers. Thank you so much. Juliet Stedman, right here. And Pauline McLean. Hi, Juliet, even though you're in the studio. And Pauline McLean. I get so much information at the barber shop when getting my haircut. Love it. So she's seeing the same connection, which is correct. The show is called Bar Talk, simply because it's not so much about the bar, but like the barber shop, like the hair salon, like the nail tech. It's a place where people can relax and just talk about things that maybe they were trying to talk about in another situation or the environment wouldn't be that easy. So we thank you. And Michelle Dixon is watching with you. Hi, Michelle. Okay, so coming on to making transitions. You said you told him exactly, Helen, what school or university to attend?
No, that's not correct. I didn't tell him that. I told him where my money was.
Where your money? Making a choice, but then you know where your money's
My
going.
money's going here.
Here's some of the issues I had growing up as a mama's boy. I'm the only child from my mom, but my daddy was, just say, put it this way, he died in 2010, and at that time he was about 89 or something like that, or some in that area. Whenever you ask him how many kids he had, it would range from the 6 of us to all 11. So my daddy was that kind of person, but he was never wrong. And so when I had a fight, I said, my mom is not here, so really I wasn't Mr. Goody Two-Shoe, but I was a church boy. But as a church boy, I would get into issues at school. And so I had my first fight at school, and my mom came to defend me. And I was that's the first kind of exposure I had, because the guys are laughing at me. Oh, you got your mama? Your mama comes to school to defend you. What? Well, your daddy. Any experiences like that in junior school? Anything like that at all? Mama had to go to school?
Well, I've never gotten into fights. I was somewhere weaseled my way out of it. So I've never really, no.
I went to all boys school, and
I did too. I went to Calabar High.
Calabar, that's right.
Yeah. So we just gave a lot of trouble. Yeah, we played pranks with each other, played pranks with the teachers. That was our main thing. We pretty much got along at the boys' school.
Awesome. Awesome.
She knew me very well, so it wasn't a whole lot of defense of me. When she came out, it was, what'd you do now?
No.
It wasn't no defending Chris. It was, all right, what'd you do now?
And with the speech.
Yeah.
Another thing I know about moms, that the older I get, the more I hear her in my head. Rings a bell for you guys? And so some things that my mom used to say to me back then, my mama used to say, you don't practice on preaching day. In other words, if you were a preacher, you don't go to church and practice preaching. That you're supposed to be ready for preaching day. And there are so many things that I've had in my life that she used to tell me. I said, and it comes back to me, rings a bell, you know. Anything you guys can think of?
One that I made her a card today, and
Uh-huh.
I put the one saying in the card that always comes back to me, and that's rent is always due. So
No, hold up. Rent is always, define that one.
So we were this is back in the lean years.
Yes.
We were living in an apartment over by Boyd Anderson High School, and it was just her and I, and it was her birthday. Her car was broken down, so we just barely had the rent money that month. But it was her birthday, so we walked down the street to the grocery store and bought cheesecake and some pink champagne and some balloons, and we went back to the apartment and we celebrated my mom's birthday. And I was like, "Well, Mom, I thought we didn't have any money. You know, you had to use the rent money. What are we gonna do?" And she said, "You know, rent is always due. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your life, celebrate milestones, because rent is always due.
That's true.
Don't sit around waiting just to pay rent all the time. Enjoy life. Rent is always due." And so I always think that way. I mean, when times are tough, it's always going to be tough times. Rent's always due, but you got to enjoy yourself. You got to celebrate yourself.
How old were you then?
Was that like 9 or so?
9, 10,
So,
something.
pick up on that then, Helen. Give me what's the philosophy. What's your because at that point in time, I know what it was, because in my case, I learned to sew from my mom. That's one of the things I learned to sew, because my mom, Kevin is saying the same thing. My mom was a seamstress. On Sunday was church, Monday, Tuesday, and part of Wednesday, because Wednesday night was service, was sewing, and then the Friday, Saturday was selling at the market.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what she did. And she's always telling me that I've learned to sew, and she always said to me, you know, you have to, and that's where the practice, practice on preaching day.
Right.
You see, you had to learn how to do things, because when it's time to deliver, you had to deliver. And so I'm hearing you say that she says rent is another philosophy there. So pick that up for me. At what period of time was that for you? And what were you going through at that time as a mother?
Well, just been a single mother and having to take care of a child, only child, and having it as a social worker, we were not paid that much money. But I wanted him to understand when he had a concern about that you still must live. You still must enjoy life. And you cannot hold yourself to all these bills. Because it's going to be
How do you
always
balance
due.
both?
You keep breathing.
I like that. I like that.
Just do it.
Awesome.
You know, as a single mother, you just made it happen. And it always happened.
Oh my God. That is the very thing that I found amazing about my mother. That no matter what the bills were due, no matter what I needed for school, always happened.
Always happened.
Joan,
Yes.
you had him at 17. Orlando at 17.
Yes.
In my case, the last time I saw my dad, I was 9 years old. He pulled up in a car. I was just coming out of the bathroom. I darted to go say hi to him, and he said, "Boy, get back in the house. Put on some clothes." And that was the actually last time I saw that man until I was about 17 or thereabouts. So from 9 to 17. Joan, talk to me about those years, those initial years, those early years.
Well, 17, having a child 17 in Jamaica, you got to drop out of school. And at the time, it was a really, really big embarrassment to that parents, to the entire family. So we were living in the Kingston area. So one morning, my mom got dressed. She took me on the train and took me to, you'd say like here to Orlando, to another parish. They call it St. Elizabeth, in the plantation where they do the cane, the sugar cane plantation with an aunt. And I stayed there. I really didn't even have prenatal care because it wasn't really a big emphasis on that time. It was you kind of just, one of the things I really did too when I was pregnant with him, every day I would run and jump and just try to
Get rid of me.
Oh Lord, confessions. Wow.
Yeah, because I was in the house 5 months and my mom didn't realize that I was pregnant.
Oh.
And when she found that out, I remember one day I was going to the movies with some friend and a man looked at me in the crowd and said, "You're breathing."
That's a Jamaican term for being pregnant.
That means you're pregnant. And I was so scared. I disappeared out of the crowd. So anyhow, back to that part. So after a while, my mom kind of get a little softened up, and I guess the whole family knew now because they're kind of just wondering, where's Joan? And Joan is all of a sudden, Joan was going to school and Joan disappeared. And Joan is in the country. So once you hear that, you know Joan is pregnant.
So hold on, let me get that clear because we're trying to capture a certain era. So if you had a young girl in Kingston, the metropolitan area, and suddenly you sent her to the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
That tells a story.
Because it would seem like an embarrassment to the family.
Family.
So they were like statue until.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, it
Here it
was.
was Georgia.
Oh, it's Georgia. You get sent to Georgia. Wow.
Wow. So anyhow, my mother kind of softened up, and I came back to Kingston. So, because if you have a child in Kingston, it could look as considered if you have a child in the United States. That's the kind of concept. So anyhow, so I really didn't have any interaction with the dad. And as you said you wanted to be a policeman. That surprises me because he's a
He was
cop.
a cop.
He was a cop.
Dad, okay.
And I really didn't know that. Anyhow, so I came back and I had Romeo, a beautiful son, handsome, at 6:45 a.m. on a Sunday morning. I remember
He's born at
everything.
6:45 on a Sunday morning.
Yes.
could have been twins.
Wow.
So that was, I went into labor for 18 hours.
Okay, you won't talk about that.
Wow. So what happened? When he born, I went home to my aunt because my mom was still embarrassed, but she was there. She came, looked for me, gave me food and everything, and it took about a whole full year before your dad would come and look at you.
I actually didn't meet him, like, to my knowledge, until I was in high school.
Wow.
Yeah, probably about age, let's say maybe 13 or 14, somewhere about there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that raises the question, because like I said to you, my dad passed in 2000, no, actually my mom passed in 2010. My dad passed like about 2 years ago.
Wow.
And people don't understand why you have this. I sympathize and I felt the empathy for the family, but I never had that kind of a traction to my dad like
Right.
a son should have. And so we all 6 of us this time, accounted for, showed up in West Palm Beach, and we had a wonderful funeral and so forth. But it didn't hit me as I am losing. It sounds hard. I don't know if you guys are feeling it. You probably know him, and I know him. And afterwards, my first college shoes he bought for me to go to college, and so I appreciate it. But didn't have that kind of a feel for him as I should. The thing is, when I graduated from college, I remember getting a standing ovation as the valedictorian when I said I give praises and thanks to the mother who fathered me. And he had the temerity that I was in Jamaica, he was still here, he was saying to somebody that, well, here, but I bought him the shoes he's standing with. I'm like, so in this case, guys, how do you move forward being a father then? You have kids, I know you have kids.
Right. Well, I do have kids. I have 4 daughters.
Wow.
Yes.
Whoa!
You're punny.
So at times I think it's nature getting back at me for all the stuff I did in the past. I try to be there for them as much as possible because my dad wasn't there for me. Like I said, I met him when I was like 13 or 14. He's still alive today. Joan has reached out to me to try to form sort of a relationship with him. But I'm at the stage where I'm independent. I have my own family. I've never really had that connection with him. So there's nothing that really drives me to say, let's go rekindle or anything like that. I have seen his posts on Facebook, and I do have some siblings on his side. I have 2 sisters and a brother. And I've reached out to them, and we communicate every now and then back and forth. And because I want to be there for my kids. Whenever they need me, I'm there doing their homework, taking to school. They've always been back and forth to school. Whatever they need, I basically spoil them. I mean, whatever they want, whenever they want it, I try to get it for them. Not that I didn't have it when I was growing up, I did have it, but I feel as a parent, kids should always try to give their kids more so they can have a better life than they did. Whether it's a better education, a better pair of shoes, a better car, stuff like that, a better job. They should always try to give their kids that. Now, some of us tend to do more than we should, like spoil our kids.
What about the overcompensation?
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. And then some kids nowadays, they don't tend to appreciate things like you and I would do back then. So we'll buy them a PS4, and we're like, oh, good, I've got him this game for $500, and they're like, they'll play it 2 days, like, oh, back on my Instagram, Snapchat, and it's just a generation thing.
How about you, Chris?
Well, I have 2 boys. And it's
Big boys.
So you're not being punished. You're not being punished.
Big boys.
You're not being punished.
oh no, you knew them. I'm being punished. It's tough being a father without having that father. So I'm learning to be a father because I didn't have one there. But
So
one
stop.
thing,
Let me sorry to interrupt, but sometimes, and this is where the mama's boy thing, I'm going to allow you to continue, but people think we tend to be soft because we weren't raised by our dads. And so, yeah, you
it's
take
the opposite.
it.
It's the opposite.
Take it.
Because, and I was gonna say, because there was no father in the house, I think my mom really pushed me to be hard, pushed me to do things. I was taking a group of ladies up to Tallahassee this year. And we rented a van, and the van broke down, and I'm on the side of the road changing the tire on the van. And those ladies, they know my mom, and it's like, you know, you grew up, single parent, but you can, with just a mother, you can change a tire. I was like, yeah, because my mama didn't let me fall back on that. She didn't let me fall back on, you don't have a dad in the house,
Right.
and so you don't have, no. I've had to learn how to swing a hammer, how to change a tire, how to take down a tree, those things. And so I think it was a little, she made me tougher because she knew it was that lack. And then she put me also in a lot of things where I had role models. I mean, she had me in Little League football and Boy Scouts, and she did all that stuff. But it actually, when you don't have a father in the house like that and you have a strong mother, it makes you stronger, but it makes you wiser also. Because the same way I can do all those things a man should do, I understand why a woman needs them done.
Good. Because I've always had that stuff that people say you are grown by your mom, and so you are, and there are ladies out there. I'm not trying to pick any fight, folks, but there are ladies out there. Especially if you're an only child like Orlando, would be told, well, yes, as your mama's boy, she treats you this way. And the only thing I know that's different, like you said, my mom taught me to do. First of all, my mother taught me to wash, clean, cook. She said, and Kevin is saying the same thing. Yep. Because my mother used to tell me, again, ladies, I'm not trying to pick a fight, please.
Even my daughter, I come there and I plait their hair.
My mother said, no woman should get back at you because you can't cook, you can't clean, you can't wash your clothes, you can't. And I hear Helen shaking your head. What's your thoughts?
Exactly. The first thing I taught him is how to make baked chicken with the shake and bake. Green beans out of the can and corn. If I can't make it home in time to feed you, now you can feed yourself.
Yep.
He must be self-sufficient, and he was quite self-sufficient.
Awesome.
And those dishes better be clean when she get home.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Or
Kitchen
you will be
better clean.
awakened. Rudely. to get those dishes washed.
But Joan, let me pick on you a bit. You had a choice because you had somebody else to help you to raise your son, right?
Partially.
Partially.
Yes.
And so what did you instill in him then? That you that nobody could, like my mom says, no woman going to punish you because you can't cook, you whatever.
She's still one fear in me to this day that haunts me.
What's that?
She told me as a kid when I was in primary school, if you have sex before you're of age, you'll never learn to swim and you're going to drown.
I didn't hear that part.
And I will never learn to swim and I will drown. And to this day,
What kind of
to this day, I have the biggest fear of water.
really?
And I can't swim in deep water. Even when I was training in the military, they had to come and save me on that pool. I'm so traumatized. I tell my friends and they laugh and I say, I'm dead serious. But it worked. It worked.
Let's take some time out again to say hi to some people who are watching
I
with
was
us.
doing a fact check on that.
Real quickly, let me say a little shout to some folks who are calling: Pauline McLean, Michelle Dixon, Eddie Edwards, Loretta Dees. Hi, Loretta. And while I'm on that, there's a little lady who always she turns 90 in October.
Wow.
She says she's 89 now. Is Rosetta Bailey from? Let me get the word. from Hobson City, Alabama. She watches every Sunday.
Awesome.
Happy Mother's Day. She has, I don't know the number of kids she has, but
Mother's Day
listen,
to
hope
you
you're
too.
having a wonderful day. And we're looking forward to celebrating your 90th birthday when it comes.
Yes.
Awesome.
Rosetta
Yes.
Bay.
Very good.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
C-Roy, you're watching with us. Gordon, Charlene, I'm not so sure that one. Denise Ivani, one of our faithful watchers on the program. William Stewart is watching with us. And great teaching. Rent is always due, said Sharon Bryant. So I don't know who she said that to. But Mama tells you, and I guess who guys, if you heard it, if your mom, the lady's saying great teaching, which means Sharon, she probably putting that out there to say to someone who is, you know,
Live life.
live life,
Live
but
life.
rent is always due.
Rent
Good.
is always
Alan
due.
Cunningham, hey Alan, I wish I could. Alan was another guy, Alan Cunningham, a people profile. He's part of the Jamaican diaspora. He is also raised by his mom, and I have some pictures to show, but we got them kind of thrown off the program earlier. But Alan is one of those guys who was raised rough and tough by his mom. And he's Dr. Alan Cunningham today, and he will always show you, he's not afraid to show you the pictures of his mom selling in the market, or his mom, you know, taking care of him. And back in Whitfield Town days, a rough part of Jamaica. So we didn't come out too bad, I think. You know, Brave Black is watching. Loretta Patrick, Mayor Hazel Rogers,
Lornette Patrick.
Lornette, us.
JNF president.
Okay, Lornette Patrick. Okay, I'm so sorry. Mayor Hazel Rogers is watching. Hey, Mayor.
Hi.
How you doing? Happy Mother's Day to you. Okay, Denise Vadney, great conversation. Red Fox. Funny, that's the reason why I'm laughing, because some kid came on. I actually shadowed one of the teachers was doing that Zoom teaching, and some kid came up on, didn't show his face, but had a flag waving on the camera, Red Fox. So she told him, if I don't see your face, you don't pronounce your name, you won't get a grade. So that's something else.
What you mentioned, Mayor Rogers.
Yes.
And if I could just interject, one thing about being raised, and I'm sure you'll agree, by a single mother and a strong mother, you learn how to deal with women better and relate to women better. When I served in the legislature, I served with Mayor Rogers and a lot of women from around the state. And it seemed my relationship with them was always good because I would see my mom in them. And so other legislators have trouble dealing with women or anything. When I saw Hazel Rogers, I saw Helen Hinton. And so I would talk to Hazel and we'd work together on stuff, even if we disagreed. When you're raised by a strong mother, it teaches you to respect women and it teaches you how to relate to women.
I don't want to jump in. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I believe that because when you talk about mama's boys being weak, maybe it's called we don't weak, it's women. That's what something is. It's just not even, right, Kevin? It's not.
We have a different level of vulnerability.
I like that because we don't touch. You guarantee that this is a man who understands women. And some of the curves you ladies play on us sometimes.
It's like you tend to be more in touch with your feminine side than a guy who's with his dad.
Yes.
Because you've been a woman and you know when they can be
More emotional.
Yes.
Exactly.
And
so you tend to be more in touch with that side of you.
And so, like you said, over the years, some of the most influential people in my life has been women. Because I've just been able to link with them, like Commissioner Denise Grant. I know you sent me a picture, and I wasn't able to put it on because we got stopped earlier. But she's raising a son, Josh, on her own. So, hello, Commish. Great to see you. Hey, we have some other folks. Mayor Rogers is watching. Denise Ifadli, Red Fox, Wayne Messam. Mayor Wayne Messam, how you doing? Yeah, Red Fox. Red Fox says Jamaican mothers, they try to trick you all the time. Joan, that's for you. What have you tricked yourself? Well, you said it.
Yeah, no sex.
Still can't swim.
Yes, right?
Anything above that goes, listen, once the water gets here, Luke, that's it for me.
Really? Are you not this stage?
This stage.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Joan, let me
But you have 4 kids though.
So you kind of disobeyed
I need
somehow.
4 floats.
Y'all didn't get it. Obviously, you didn't listen. That's why I missed that whole thing.
I was
Y'all
hoping,
missed the whole
I was
thing.
hoping no one brought that up. I got that point. I was hoping you hadn't figured that
That's
out.
why you have to fear, because he didn't listen. Man,
I got it. I hope you don't
I was hoping that I go over there and oh, I didn't get it. All right, I'm good. I'm still good.
Question. I'm addressing this to moms, and I'm starting with Joan. COVID-19 and all that kind of stresses in life, and people still get pregnant in teenage years. And the reality is that so many people put up their kids for adoption, do all kind of different things. And especially in a time like now where it's hard. What, based on your experience, is there as a young lady or a person at home right now watching this broadcast, and now we're laughing because we're looking at these strong men at the epitome of the heights of their professions. And in your case, been there, done it. Wonder what the heck next to do. But what would you say to them, Joe?
This is very, it's a time when, as adults, I know we're gonna talk to kids and some of them will listen, some of them won't. But I think we need to always be there as a support system because we all make mistakes. And sometimes mistakes are made. Some of them you could correct them, some of them you can't. And when I look at my handsome son, he's supportive, he's been there for me, for many others. I am blessed that I have him in my life, and I just want the grandparents, the family members, that even go into the stereotyping or really putting that person down, because I was a high school dropout, and that did not stop me from pursuing, raise my son, and continue my own career. And to see that I have become...
Joan, can I just interject? Because I'm glad you said that. We got a little more time. I'm glad you said that, because not only have you raised your son, in your case, you already went to university and that's where your money was. Joan decided that not only she's going to do so, raise her son, that she's going to, in her case, continue her education. And she's now... I think she has a master's in...
I have 2 masters. I have masters.
Sorry.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah,
Get it right.
Yeah, I have 2 masters. I have a nursing education master. I have a postmaster's in the nurse practitioner. I have grown to be a instrumental person of the community. I goes on mission trip with the Jamaican Nursing Association, being the president. I am leading a big corporation where I have so many other people around me that I spearheaded and leadership. So I really feel that we need to continue to support our teenage mom and lift them up.
Okay, good. Helen, your thoughts?
Well, being in human services and an activist in the community, not only do we have to support the teenage moms, but I'm finding that now we need to teach the teenage moms.
Wow.
That's one of the breakdowns we have. Not the teenage mom, but their mom. So those it's going to be the grandmother, because we're finding out in the community that there's a total disconnect. And you can almost see the chain of events. Because those mothers do not know how to mother. And you find out also it's systemic, that their mother didn't know how to mother them. And so it's a cycle going on. I remember Chris was 15, we were going out the door and I said something to him. He said, no, I'm not going to. He said something like, I promise you, I'm not going to have a child at 15. I will break this chain. And I was like, good, because I can barely take care of you. I don't need to take care of anybody else.
Right.
But that's what it's generations that we have not been able to touch. When campaigning, I was shocked to find out that my peers that went to school with me could not fill out some of the paperwork. They were functional illiterate. So the problem has been there so long, and we keep trying to peel off the top, but the problem is all the way to the root. And until we work on that, changes are not going to occur.
We're running out of time. Last, Mama's Boys comment.
My comment is anyone can have a child. I can have a child, you can have a child, they can have a child. But you need that village. You gotta have that village here with you. That village could be the grandma, the aunt, the lady down the street, the man next door. We need that village to help you raise that child. Once you have that village, even if you're a married couple, a husband and wife, and you have a kid, you still need that help and the input from the village to raise that child.
And you need a girl. You need that girl.
Exactly. And learn how to swim. Take some swimming lessons.
Chris, you wrote a book and you had a whole chapter to your mom, and so the best person to close out on this mama's, first of all, again, this is Bar Talk on Jamaicans.com. It's moment to remember, Jamaicans.com. We love the fact that you joined us today, and we appreciate that you took the time to even share with us for the folks who stayed with us through it. I know there's some people along the way who watched us all the way through. We really say thanks to you. And so I'm going to have former Representative Chris Smith close us out.
Well, happy Mother's Day to the mothers. We talked a lot today about single mothers doing it, but there are married mothers out there, aunts and everyone that are making impacts on people, on kids' lives. My wife does a yeoman's job because, as I said,
Yes.
it's hard for me to be a father, and I lose my temper, and she's always the one to put the arm around them and things. And so mothers have such a special impact on a person's life. And going back to just to end it, we weren't able to play music before, but I love rap music, and I just always remember a verse by Tupac Shakur. He said, "Hugging on my mama from a jail cell."
Yep.
That just shows, no matter what you do in life, where you are in life, you need your mother.
Yep.
Mothers are very special, and thank you so much for mothers. And here's a gift, and the way this came about.
I don't know how we're going to show this, but let me give you.
Wait, hold up. Turn it this way to this camera right here.
Wow.
Let me give you this side story to this.
Yep.
It was the what's his name?
Freddie
Jackson, Regina Bell show. Regina Bell was singing a song, If I Could.
If I could.
And she was talking to all the mothers, and she was encouraging people to get her son. I see those tears. To get her son, pray that she can get back her son. I'm snapping. I was contracted by the city of Lauderhill to take pictures at the show at the Lauderhill Performing Arts Center. Leslie, Desiree, Denny's, Mayor Thurston, all, Commissioner Bates, who else am I missing? Campbell, everybody, thank you. Right. And I looked around, and here's a grown man holding on to his mama for dear life as she sings. And it hit every core of my body. It hit every core of my body. And so I just had to get that to you. And your wife insisted on paying for it. So just for the records, folks, it was paid for. Even though I wanted to give it away because it was so amazing. But that, first of all, that's not a photo op. That's not a photo op. That was actual emotions.
Yeah, trying to moment.
You can give that to your mom.
And I actually look cute.
That's a beautiful picture.
Yes.
Well done, Lou.
And on that case, on that
Thank
note,
you.
folks, you're welcome. And thank you for joining Bar Talk again. And
Been crying.
always remember, no matter how it looks, there's always a brighter day if you only believe. To all the mothers, we want to say to you, thanks for joining Bar Talk, but have yourself a very, what's left of it, a very, very pleasant Mother's Day from us all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody wait for this camera. This one.
And we are...